Guys, wouldn't your wife or girlfriend love it if you treated her to the very best this Christmas? Now you can, with the world's softest pajamas by Pajamagram. Created by a team of pajama experts, the world's softest PJs are lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny, like cashmere, only better. She'll love how heavenly they feel. Includes free gift packaging and Christmas delivery is guaranteed. So visit pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs.
Welcome to the Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. Hey, man, how many of y'all remember the first game of the season where the Rockets were playing against the Warriors? And while Chris Paul was out there, the Rockets were looking pretty bad. Then Chris Paul came out the game, and they came back and won it with James Harden and was like, oh, man, we'll see how this Chris Paul-James Harden thing works out. And then Chris Paul comes back because it turned out that he was injured, and the Rockets have not lost a game with Chris Paul. They have an 11-game winning streak as of right now. They are 12-0 total in the games that Chris Paul has played. The Rockets are 22-4. I'm shocked by how little we talk about the fact that the Rockets are 22-4, right? I mean, because the Rockets are here at a place where we have just basically written the West, written it off as being the Warriors since the beginning of everything. Dude, not only are the Rockets balling, but the Rockets are balling and the Rockets are playing defense. They've got those two guys out there. They seem to be getting along enough. They got the best record in the West. Like, hey, guys, this is something to kind of sort of pay attention to, don't you think? I would think that this would be something to kind of sort of pay attention to, even though I'm looking at the Rockets roster. I'm a bit up and down on Mike D'Antoni, but let's be real with ourselves about some of these other guys who play for the Rockets and be like, yo, this collection of cats is 22-4. And not only is this collection of cats 22-4, this collection of cats is out here with the fifth best defensive rating in the NBA. So, yeah, you got Chris Paul. You got James Harden. You know who's clocking in behind them? We got James Harden and Eric Gordon as your top two scorers. Then Chris Paul, then Clint Capella, Ryan Anderson. Remember when they kept trying to trade Ryan Anderson and nobody would take him? Ryan Anderson scoring, hitting for about 12 points a game this year and 40% from three.
The face of the stretch four, Ryan Anderson.
Yes, the face of the stretch four and the quickest way to ruin a trade proposal. They go with Trevor Ariza. Shannon, did you know that Nene was still in the league?
And it threw me off with Nene last year because I think he lost a lot of weight, so he looked totally different.
Yes, he did.
He started getting some gray in that beard and lost weight like a totally different guy.
And is he the 2002 draft?
2002 draft pick by the New York Knicks.
That's right. I was going to ask you if you
that's
remember
where you were
that.
going with that, weren't
No, I wasn't so much going with that because they drafted him and didn't they immediately trade him to Denver?
For Antonio McDyess, yes, they did.
Yeah, I like Antonio McDyess. He was a good player for Denver.
In Phoenix.
Was he a good player for the Knicks?
In Detroit.
Was he a good player for the Knicks?
In San Antonio.
So I guess no.
Everywhere else but the Knicks.
I actually hadn't thought about that with Antonio McDyess, where I thought that Antonio McDyess' career ended because he got to the Knicks and his knees went bad. But no. He put it all together to go play for other people. He's up there with the Knicks like, nah, my knees still hurt. You know my knees are bad, right? Yeah, y'all might want to try to get off of under my contract. My knees ain't never going to be good. And then, whoop. He turned out to be okay. The Rockets did something this year, though, with this roster where I have been critical of Daryl Morey very often because I think that Daryl Morey ignores the fact that there are human concerns to playing basketball. And I think that the algorithm and everything else that they're using to come up with how to put that team together, you had to do some math on having, it's not all going to come out for you out of the equation. I thought that going to get Ty Lawson, for example, was a bad idea for them, not realizing, your team doesn't have any grown-ups. You need to have a grown-up. This team went out and got themselves a couple of grown-ups in the offseason. One of those grown-ups is Chris Paul, who is just a super grown type. That's just how he does. And you know who the other grown-up is they got, right, Shannon? You know about the other grown-up? I believe he is also a member of the 2003 high school class, also from the state of North Carolina.
Are you referring to the 6'5" power forward that is P.J. Tucker?
I am referring to the dude you don't want no problems with, P.J. Tucker. You are absolutely correct. You know, I got all these different ways to talk about these cats that you know you don't want no problems with, like we talk about all the 5'9" guys. But, Shannon, you hit a perfect one on P.J. Tucker. P.J. Tucker is a 6'5" power forward. Like, that's who LeAngelo Ball needs to be watching footage of, right? He needs to be out there watching some footage of P.J. Tucker, because that, if you're going to be the size that he's looking at, this is the guy that you're going to be. So the Rockets got a guy that you do not want any problems with. And they needed that guy. Him and Luka Mbamute? Like, they went and got themselves some guys who do other things and can hit enough threes, right? Like, I feel like that's the thing with PJ. PJ can hit you enough threes. PJ also, I wouldn't say, Shannon, will we call him a can't-go-back all-star because we've seen him back in Raleigh too much to say that he can't go back, but I feel like he can't come back to stay for very long? Listen to this list of countries that PJ Tucker done played in. Israel, Ukraine, Greece, Italy, and Germany.
Definitely, I wouldn't call him a can't go back, but he's definitely stay ready though.
He is ready. He's ready. I told you about that time that I went to his brother's barbershop. I was in Raleigh, and this is like 2007, and I don't really know Raleigh like that. And so I needed to find a black barber. I mean, I had hair then. So I needed to find a black people's barbershop, but I didn't know the area, and the internet had not progressed in the way. Like, it really wasn't Yelping like that. You know what I mean? So I just pulled up a list of barbershops, and I was like, okay, where am I going to find this barbershop? How do I know it's the black barbershop? And then I came across Big Will's. And I was like, okay, I believe that's what I need. And then I rode to Big Will's. And I'd actually been saying for the longest time, like, I'd gone to Raleigh at different times, and you normally stumble across certain parts of town at some point in your travels that I hadn't in Raleigh. Shannon, I got there, and as I recall, it was a check cashing joint on one side. No, it was a check cashing joint and a laundromat with a barbershop in between.
Oh, then you were in the right place now.
I was in the right place. Big Will's took care of me right before I went to outside the lines. I wonder if anybody else had ever gone to Big Will's before they had planned to go holler at Bob Lee, who, Shannon, by the way, I was in Bristol yesterday, greeting me with a fist bump.
Speaking of which, how was your time up here in Bristol yesterday in the beautiful weather that is Bristol, Connecticut?
Oh, my God, it was cold. It was cold then and it's cold now, and I'm trying. All right, so some of you guys don't know this about me as a person, but I lived in Miami for the last 4 years, and y'all would get on the internet and be complaining or putting them pictures up of screen capture of your weather and talking about how cold it was, and I figured that we were just all playing a game where we discuss how the weather was wherever we were, so you guys would put up the screen caps of your cold weather, and I would then take a picture from the balcony of my beachfront condominium and put a picture up of that because I thought that we were just sharing what the weather was. And Shannon, people didn't seem to appreciate that very much. I don't really understand what it is. I thought, why can't I participate in the game, right?
So I haven't seen you doing that here lately there, Bo.
You haven't seen me doing that because ain't nothing to celebrate in this weather, and I don't feel like participating in the cold weather sharing game anymore, in large part because I know a lot of y'all are low-bottom haters, and if I get myself into a situation where I'm talking about how cold it is, you're going to be like, oh, you cold now. You wasn't cold last year. You cold now. And I would just like to say to all of you, I encourage every single one of you, if you were offended when I would post the pictures of my beachfront condo last year while the weather was cold where you are, go out to the balcony of your beachfront condo, take a picture, and then send it to me so I can feel the same pain that you felt in that moment. Right? Like, that's what it is. In the meantime, the cold ain't really been that bad, Shad. I went out and got me some equipment, got me a couple of bubble coats. You know what I'm saying? I got some warm long johns of some sort that are on right now. And let me tell you something about long johns. I feel like we give the long johns a little too much credit. They help, but they don't solve the problem. They don't, no. They do not solve the problem. I never want to go back to Houston so bad in my life, and I can't go back all-star of a different type when it comes to hometown. But it snowed in Houston before it snowed in New York. And it was like 46 degrees a couple days ago in Miami.
Oh, so they're getting it too then, so I don't feel as bad.
That's right. You have to tell the people about the picture you took yesterday because you did your Miami time.
Yeah, I did my stretch day in Miami. So then yesterday when I took the kids out, put them on the bus, it was a nice 13 degrees. So I figured I'd snap a pic of my kids and put it on the Instagram there. My son was none too pleased with that 13-degree weather. Let's just say he really enjoyed wearing shorts to school every day last year.
Yeah, I've known your son since he was 2 years old. I had never seen that look on his face ever before in life. I've never seen just outright sadness like the sadness was on his face right there. That's the thing about living in Miami, man. No matter how much you say you do or do not like it, don't nobody ever complain about the weather. Ever. And I'm not going to complain about the weather to you guys. Nope, because I went and got me a heavy-duty coat And then when I got me another heavy-duty coat, I got a hat, I got some gloves, and all of those things were getting assaulted yesterday. Like, they were putting up a valiant fight, a strong effort, right? Like, they were doing all those things.
Like, in theory, you had a great plan going into it.
I did. Look, I'm doing the best I can, bro. I'm doing the best I can. I told you, I went to go look for that coat on the internet. I got to one of them coat sites, and then you got, how do you sort? I was like, sort by most expensive, please. I am sparing no expense. Like, I ain't get the most expensive coat they had, but the last thing I was going to do was be cold outside talking about, damn, I wish I spent that extra $100. Anyway, the Rockets are really good at basketball. You should call me and talk about it because clearly this is a day where you need to put in your half. I looked at ESPN.com earlier today, and they had something about LeBron maybe going to the Lakers. That's how you know, people. We scraping the bowl. Put something in the bowl so we ain't got to scrape the bowl. You don't like the noise when I scrape the bowl. Put something in the bowl. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, why the folks in Indiana hating on Paul George so bad? You're listening to ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Greg Doyle of the Indianapolis Star will join us next segment. Greg Doyle will join us at 4:30 Eastern. Find out why them folks is booing Paul George like that. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. And Stop Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. We just talking about the Rockets. Haven't lost a game that Chris Paul has played in this year. Let's hit the phone, talk to Nick in Alaska. Nick, thanks for calling The Right Time.
I love the show. Cowboys fan, Rockets fan. Sup, Shannon? But I don't know why at the beginning of the year a lot of people were not thinking the Rockets thing with Chris Paul and James Harden would work because back in the day when he was at OKC, he was basically a two-guard and a point guard at the end of the games anyway, and he could always go back to being a two-guard. He's a great spot-up shooter, and he loves playing the two. And then with D'Antoni staggering them off and on the court, I mean, that was kind of almost simple too. And D'Antoni made Steve Nash a two-time MVP, so why couldn't he make this work?
Well, I think there's something to be said for that. I think part of it, one, is just that the Warriors have been so good that we didn't think anybody would be better than the Warriors. But there's also some interesting numbers here, like the on-court, off-court numbers with Chris Paul and James Harden, with them playing when they are and are not playing with each other, that I thought were very interesting. Like, let me find this one right here. I got to click a couple buttons on the internet. All right, there we go. So while Chris Paul and James Harden are on the floor together, per 100 possessions, they got a net rating of 9.5. This is where it's interesting. If it's only James Harden, they got a net rating of 22. If it's just Chris Paul, they have a net rating of 37. Right? So, like, they're good together. They're even better when it's only one of them on the floor at the same time. I don't have a great explanation for you as to why it is that way, but I do think what they got going is interesting. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Paul George played his first game back in Indiana last night, and, they were booing, and Paul George was missing 12 points on 3 of 14 shooting. Shannon, they said they booed him every time that he touched the ball. Every single time they booed Paul George. Why are they so mad at Paul George?
I'm not surprised by that. The thing I was surprised, I thought they would have at least applauded him a little bit more, but the booing, I'm not surprised.
But I feel like, well, really, what's the cause for being mad in this case? Like, I understood the thing with Kevin Durant where people felt like, they felt like Kevin Durant, like, abandoned them. Paul George said, I'll stick this thing out, but I'm just letting you know I'm out of here at the end of the contract. Isn't that how the story went? And then they made the decision, that was a wise one, to go ahead and to trade Paul George. And they got back Victor Oladipo in the trade, and that seems to be working out pretty well. Like, I think after the LeBron thing, it's become more in style than ever to boo people after they leave. It's almost like this is being deemed as the way that you are supposed to handle these things. Like, remember when people started burning jerseys after LeBron left Cleveland? I had never seen that happen before. Then it becomes almost a staple of what everybody is doing. Like, this becomes the template of how you're supposed to handle it when your guy winds up leaving. But with Paul George, I'm just kind of like, all right, I guess. And Paul George seems to be confused, too. He don't know why they're acting like that.
I don't know if they want me to be a circus act or be out there like a show. I played my hardest and I played hard every night. I thought I took, what the city was about, and that's being blue collar. That sure was how I approached the game. Played every side of the ball. They have now they have with Lance, the guy that they're looking for.
Lance? Shannon, did he just say that Lance Stevenson was the guy that Indiana was looking for? Did you ever think you lived that long?
I'm sure he didn't just mean Lance. I'm sure he had to give praise to Oladipo, but he did say Lance, as in Lance Stevenson.
But the thing that's interesting is that somehow Lance Stevenson is the fit there, right? He is the gritty, blue-collar grit guy. Like, that's where his career has taken him, is now to a place where he is that guy, the guy that Indiana wanted, Lance Stevenson. Wow. Yeah. You got anything?
I don't know when this happened. So is Lance Stevenson moving towards beloved? Like, in Indiana? Like, is he at that level now?
Well, what's even wilder about it is he can't make it work anywhere but Indiana, and Indiana can't seem to make it work without him. Never saw that coming. Ever once saw that coming.
It didn't work in Charlotte, right? And then he went to, I think, was it New Orleans, I want to say?
Yes.
And here he is back with the Pacers, beloved.
Who knew? By the way, Knicks fans, they get the Oklahoma City Thunder homecoming tour rolls into New York City. They'll get to holler at Melo this weekend. How do you think your folks going to handle that, Shannon?
They're going to cheer Carmelo. They better cheer Carmelo. I don't think Knicks fans have any reason to boo Carmelo Anthony. I really don't. He stayed there. He re-signed there when you knew they were going to be bad and that you really couldn't trust what the front office was doing. So I would imagine that Knicks fans are going to cheer Carmelo. It's not his fault.
You know damn well they're going to boo him.
Well, then there'll be a bunch of busters then if they do.
There actually will be a bunch of busters because you're right. They finally got a star-caliber player who signed on and said, nah, I want to do this New York thing. I want to make it happen. You finally got one. Then once you got it, you were mad at him. That man even lied and said he was from here when he wasn't. Remember that? Remember that when he talking about I want to come back home to Brooklyn? The dude that's got West Baltimore tattooed on his arm. Did he ever get that tatted over, by the way? Like WB, what that, like West Bronx? Like what? Brooklyn. Maybe he changed it into that because that was the birthplace, right?
Yeah, that was the birthplace, but we all know where home is for Melo.
Baltimore. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. This is the phone. Talk to Chris in Indiana. Chris, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, Bomani, thanks very much for taking my call. I just
Yes, sir.
wanted to talk about Paul George a little bit. Personally, I would not have booed him. I mean, I figure if you don't want to be here, you want to go work somewhere else, this is a free country, go work wherever you want to work. I'm not going to be mad at you. But I think a lot of people, he was our only superstar. And he basically told the Indiana fans, I just don't want to be here. You know, and they took that personally because he's it. I mean, since Reggie Miller and Jermaine O'Neal, he's the only star we've had.
No.
So,
I guess I do believe that you are right, and thanks, my man, for calling. But let me check something right fast because I understand what everybody's talking about. I just want to put some things in perspective for you right fast. Shannon, I just took the computer here, and I went to weather.com. Let me see what they're talking about in Indianapolis right now. Because he said Paul George, he looked around, and he said he didn't want to be there. Shannon, the weather in Indianapolis right now, 31 degrees. I wouldn't want to be there neither. Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. All right, coming up next, I'm saying there's no reason to be mad at Paul George. Greg Doyle, kind of mad at Paul George. We'll ask him why on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, just like our next guest. Check him out at the Indianapolis Star. His name is Greg Doyle. Now, Greg, I read your column on Paul George in the game last night. You seemed to feel a little torn.
I was so torn. I went there to hate him. I mean, you know, in your head, in my head, I don't think to myself, I'm going to go here to hate Paul George. But, you know, I look back and say, okay, I can see it. Went there to hate him, succeeded in hating him for about a half and was really enjoying how bad he was. And then at halftime, I realized he's the one guy that hadn't come out of the locker room yet, so I'm just kind of lurking by the locker room. There's nobody else around, the media anyway, but me, and and I see him come out, and just at that exact moment, a father and a son, another kid walk by with Paul George shirts on, and the kids are like screaming, PG, PG. He's having a terrible homecoming game, embarrassing on national TV, but he sees these two kids, walks over to them, gives us a fist pound, and then goes back to the court. And I'm thinking, man, you've been ripping him because he left your city. That's what a good guy does right there. So now I feel ashamed of myself. I'm writing my story, ripping him, and yet apologizing for ripping him in the interview room, and Paul George does a Paul George and shows zero self-awareness and all kinds of ego right as I'm writing my kicker. And so my kicker is pretty much the hell with you, Paul George.
Well, I can't figure out why you're so bad at believing in the city, though. You just got there a couple years ago.
But I haven't left yet, have I? Look, Cincinnati's been burning down that town since I left. People get mad when folks like me and PG leave a town, you know, and that's a joke. It's not so much that he left, although believe me, no one likes that he left. And I realize that stars do leave towns. LeBron's left a couple of them. Durant left. So around the country, it might be easy to say, hey, this happens. Yeah, well, try it when it's your city, okay? Try it when it's your city and you've got a Paul George and then he's gone. But it's the way he left, too. Gutlessly, didn't tell the Pacers, didn't make it clear what he was doing when they had their best options available for trade. Finally let them know right before the draft, guys, I'm not coming back. Tied their hands. And then his agent tampered and told teams, and was found guilty of this, told teams, hey, we're going to the Lakers. In other words, don't trade for PG because he's going to the Lakers. So screw him and his agent.
We're talking to Greg Doyle of the Indianapolis Star here on The Right Time. The only thing about that trade, I mean, doesn't it look pretty good?
Oh, it does. And I don't know if I'm not good at this stuff. Like, I'm not good at sabermetrics, and this is one of those 21st century terms, but I think the term is confirmation bias. I think what's not fair is look at that trade and look at how well the Pacers did and say, nothing's wrong with the way Paul George left. Look how it turned out. It turned out because Kevin Pritchard made a brilliant, maybe lucky, although I'm not sure you get lucky when you're that smart, made a brilliant trade, and it's been better than anybody dreamed. Oladipo goes from averaging 15.5 to 24.5. Sabonis, who everybody knew was going to get better, I don't think we knew he was going to be averaging 11 and 9 this fast. So, yeah, great trade, turning out great for the Pacers, but that's in spite of the way Paul George left, not because of it.
We're talking to Greg Doyle, the Indianapolis Star, here on The Right Time. Now, one thing I seem to pick up in your column, you tell me if I'm wrong here, it seemed like things that he had always been that nobody had a problem with suddenly became a problem when he left. Is that fair?
It is fair. Now, in fairness to me, all these things that I pointed out, the way he pouts after – I mean, the thing about Paul that drives me nuts is that he's got this LeBron complex. He wants to be treated like LeBron. He wants all the fame. He wants all the All-Star votes. He wants all the calls from referees. He wants the respect from opponents. He thinks he's that good. And so there's never been a foul call that he thought was worth it. Every time he goes up and misses a shot, he falls apart like Mr. Potato Head thinking that surely I got fouled because you don't think I missed a shot on my own. He talks about himself like he's really something else. And around here, because he was our guy, and you know how fans are, they loved him. And when I pointed out the things that I'm telling you about, that I pointed out again last night, people around here hated me for it. But as soon as he left, they all see it now. You know how that is. I mean, like Lane Kiffin was loved at Tennessee until he left, then they hated him. It's just how it goes. But in my defense, I didn't like him from the moment I got here because I could see what he was.
Now, one thing I thought was fascinating after the game where he talked about, the Pacers fans, he didn't get why they felt that way, but then he said Lance is the guy that they want. Did you ever think you'd live long enough for Lance Stevenson, fan favorite in Indianapolis?
Well, Paul said something. Well, listen, I don't know. Maybe you don't realize this, and I know the Washington Post is working on a story about Lance and what a fan favorite he is here in Indianapolis, because it really doesn't kind of make sense. We're a very red state, and Lance Stevenson is a very, very blue state kind of basketball player. They love him here. They love, in part because he wants to be here, but they just love Lance. And Lance plays like he's on a sugar rush at all times. But it's fun, and it's kind of harmless, and he's spastic, but he's our spastic, and so anyway, people love Lance, and I get it now. I didn't get it from afar, live here, and I get it. However, Paul said some stupid stuff like, I don't know if they wanted me to be a circus act here or what, because the question was leading. The question was something about effort level and how he does make it look effortless, okay? He glides. I mean, he's a glider. And the question was something about, do you think the fact that you made it look so effortless, people question your effort level? And then he jumped on the question like that was it. Yeah, I don't know if they want me to be a circus act or what. They like Lance because Lance is real fiery. Listen, Paul, it's got nothing to do with effort level. No one ever complained about that. So just because someone asked him that question, don't start turning it around. The reason I don't like Paul, and the reason people that pay attention to Paul don't like Paul, is a lack of self-awareness. Here's a real quick story. Last year, the Pacers lost, I believe it was their fourth and final game of a sweep against the Cavaliers. Paul had a last-second shot, okay, to keep the game alive. That was the night his Gatorade commercial came out. You know, the horrible one where he shoots a three-pointer, walks in slow motion to the bench and says, ball game, right when the ball goes through the net. Well, that night he had a shot like that and missed it. And he has always missed those in Indianapolis. Go look at the stats. He is the worst clutch shooter in the NBA. Like, he's 0 for 16 or something ridiculous like that. But he's the one that has a commercial that says ball game. Well, last night when we were asking Paul about playing here and coming back, and someone asked him about, you were denying Vic Oladipo the ball late, and that really did help the Oklahoma City win. I mean, Paul's really good. Even when he's not hitting shots, he is a great player. He was denying Oladipo the ball, and he said, Vic's their guy, right? He's their guy, right? Well, you deny him the ball. Simple. Ball game, and he smacked the table and walked off. Like, having no idea that when Paul George, when you say the word ball game, all of us are laughing at you in our head because you're the guy that can never hit that shot, so don't start playing that tough guy card here.
We're talking to Greg Doyle, the Indianapolis Star, here on the right time. Now, for the Pacers as a whole, how good do you think this team is?
Not terribly good. Now, I mean, is it light years better than any of us, and that includes me. I was dead wrong about the trade. Than any of us thought they were going to be? Yeah, absolutely. We all kind of thought this was a high lottery team. Not just a lottery team, but you're going to be in the first 5 or 6 picks because you lose a superstar, and all you get back are 2 guys that have never had an all-star game in their life. You're supposed to get your ass kicked, all year long. Well, they're playing much harder than ever. They like each other. They didn't like Paul. In hindsight, you can see the comments. This is the best locker room we've ever had. Thaddeus Young, Miles Turner, guys like that are saying that. Well, guess who left the locker room? Paul George. So they like each other. They're playing hard for each other. Vic Oladipo has gone from averaging 16 a game to 24. They're going to get in the playoffs, and that is a shock. They have some nice pieces for the future. Are they a rising star? No, but they need one. They get one more big name, whether it's a draft pick or someone decides to come as a free agent, and they got something.
Well, would they be better off not going to the playoffs this year?
Well, that's what we all thought. Well, hell, that's what I thought. So a lot of us thought that you guys kind of do the Philadelphia thing, tank a little bit, get in the lottery. That's the only way you're going to grow here in Indiana because free agents don't come here, not great ones. Look at history. They don't come here. Good ones come here, but you can get good ones anywhere you want. Great ones don't come here. So you better get a great player in the draft. Well, we didn't know that Oladipo might be a really foundation piece. We didn't know Sabonis is a foundation piece. And when I say might about Oladipo, he is. And then Miles Turner is. Those are 3 foundational pieces. They're not that far off. They're not, real close to winning the Eastern Conference Championship with this roster, but they get one more really good player, one more really good one, maybe luck into a good draft pick like they kind of lucked into Miles Turner. You never know.
And I'm still remembering Lance Stevenson. I believe you had written this at the time, and it was correct, that there had never been a recruit as good as him who had no one who wanted to take him as late as him. And now we fast forward about 10 years. He's the Indiana fan favorite.
Well, nobody wanted him because he came out of the New York sewage, and it's amazing he was eligible to play at UC. But whatever, he was. But he is the most fun guy, and I've been to his house, by the way. He's a nice guy. I've been in his house. He has the decorating sense of a savant. I mean, it's almost like Lance Stevenson ought to be sipping champagne and cognac because he's that cool in his house. It's really something else.
Learn something new every day. That is Greg Doyle. Check him out at the Indianapolis Star. My man, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
My man. Thanks, Bomani.
No problem, man. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. You can save hundreds on your car, business, or recreational vehicle insurance from a local independent agent. Go to Progressive.com today. Now, that's Progressive.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Our guest joined us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to Greg Doyle of the Indianapolis Star for joining us last segment. Adam Schefter of ESPN will join us in the 5 o'clock Eastern hour. Remember, if you miss anything live, check out the Right Time podcast, available on the ESPN app. Amazon has got millions of toys and games to choose from this holiday for kids of all ages. Check out Amazon today. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Let's hit the phone. Talk to Francis in Maryland. Francis, thanks for calling the Right Time.
Hey, good afternoon, Bo.
How you doing, man?
I wanted to give one of those, you said they had to put in your half calls. So just a couple of things. One on Jay Gruden. There is a reason why he deserves to be fired. And the biggest reason is that the team, he's an offensive coach, but this team has a lull every single game. And at first I thought it was me. I was like, did they seem to turn off in the second quarter and then wake up towards the end of the third? And so this week I was like, let me go and look. And I actually looked at the stats and looked at each game and was like, yeah, there's a full quarter where they don't score. and when you're a coach and you know that your team does this coming out of halftime, that's the responsibility of the coach. That's not Kirk Cousins. That's what he calls you, the offensive coach. That's your responsibility.
I guess there is that, man. I still can't believe that team won as many games as they did this year. I feel like y'all just inclined to be mad.
I can't believe it either. But at the same time, when you look and the offense isn't scoring for a full quarter and a half or something, then you can't just put it on the quarterback. As a coach, you're responsible for the team. Give one of those fiery speeches that we see in all the high school movies and stuff. I don't know what you got to do, but you got to figure that out.
But I'll tell you this, at least you have the chance to look forward to the possibility that your team will pay Kirk Cousins $30 million next year. Because they watch him tag him again.
Don't do that to me, Bo.
I'm just saying. Well, what you going to do if they don't?
Listen, they're already in purgatory. Like, they can't do anything with Daniel Snyder. Like, since Daniel Snyder's been there, they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere going forward. So, you know what? At least have the semblance of hope in a quarterback that's coming in. We can just do that again. We already know what happens to Kirk Cousins. It's at best, if you're lucky, at best a 9-17 or 9-6-1, whatever. At best.
Nah, you on to something there, Francis, man. I appreciate the call, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Here's a question for you, Shannon. Who would you rather have on your favorite team, Daniel Snyder or Jim Dolan?
Boy. Okay, which Jim Dolan team are we talking about?
I'm talking about the Knicks.
Give me Daniel Snyder. I'll take Snyder all day.
Really?
Yeah, over Dolan, yes.
You're basically just saying you'll take anybody over Dolan?
Yes.
Even Dan Snyder?
Yes.
You ever hear the way these people talk about that? That's all it is?
Now, if I'm getting New York Rangers Jim Dolan, I'll take him.
Yo, why is New York Rangers Jim Dolan so much better than New York Knicks Jim Dolan? Do you have an answer for that?
Apparently, he doesn't meddle nearly as much or care nearly as much as he does with the Knicks.
Like, I'd always wondered that. But they haven't won a Stanley Cup. They got to Stanley Cup Finals, but they haven't won one in, like, the Jim Dolan era, right? They got that one in 1994.
Correct.
The only championship that team done won in 77 years.
At the point, we got that one, though. Start the 1940 chants if you want to.
You got that one. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Man, let's go to another phone call. JR, Pennsylvania. JR, thanks for calling the right time.
Bomani, Shannon, thanks for taking my call. Second-time caller. Love you guys, man.
Thank you, man.
You're the best. I just want to talk about the Rockets, man. They're really good. They have great depth at the guard, just like the rest of the West does. But let's be real. The weakest, or let's say maybe the most non-depth position the Warriors have is the 4 and the 5, and the Rockets can't beat that at the Warriors' worst. So that doesn't make sense. The Rockets are going to be great, and they're good. Probably the best complementary to a 1 and 2 we have in the league. Not the best 2, but the complementary. But I don't think that their 4 and 5 even compares to the weakness of the Warriors.
Well, I think you may have something there, and I appreciate the call, although I don't think 4 is a weakness for the Warriors. They may be on depth, but they still have Draymond Green at the 4. The only thing is, I thought about this, Shannon. If you wind up with a series with the Rockets and the Warriors, who's Steph Curry guarding? Like, who's there for him to guard? Because he's got to guard Chris Paul, right?
Trevor Ariza?
Yeah, like that is part of a thing here if it comes to it. The other thing, man, remember this. The reason that the Warriors needed to get Kevin Durant was they needed another guy that could get his own shot. Now, the Rockets are interesting because Chris Paul can get his own shot. He's just typically not inclined to do that. But if you need Chris Paul to go out there and get you 30 in the playoffs, you can go look at it. Chris Paul will get you 30. The lack of postseason success in Chris Paul's career, I don't think there's anybody that can sincerely say that falls on Chris Paul. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Dag Rich from New York. He got a why he quit football story, but we're a little bit too close to the end for me to feel like I can comfortably let them. Y'all get long-winded when they get to telling those stories.
Those stories are emotional. You can't just tell somebody, we got a minute left. You got to get you a why quit football. It's not going to work.
No. Everybody got the details that we need to hear. I am stuck on this, though, Shannon. We were talking about this a little earlier about whether when the Knicks play against the Thunder, Knicks fans are going to boo Carmelo. And I really feel like they are going to boo Carmelo because that's what they do. But I just hope y'all ain't that ungrateful.
All right, we actually have a Twitter poll up on the ESPN Radio Twitter account. And the question is, when Carmelo Anthony returns to MSG on Saturday, Knicks fans should, and the options are either boo him or cheer him.
Yeah, by the way, are the Knicks still good? I haven't been paying any attention to them lately. You still happy with them?
They're tied for 8th right now in the East. So
how you feel about that?
Better than I thought they would be at this point. Not going to lie.
for me, as someone who is not rooting for the Knicks, a nondescript Knicks team is the worst kind of Knicks team. Y'all either need to be sorry or y'all need to be good. But just to be an 8 seed, although if they are tied for the 8 seed right now, and I feel like them tied at the 8 seed, and if they play against Boston's a team they might be able to sneak a game from in the playoffs, and that's all it'll take. Y'all could be down 2-1. You'd be like, hey, man, I think it's coming down. Imagine this. Imagine they won a game at Boston in the first 2 in a playoff series. You'd be ready, wouldn't you?
Can't wait.
For what it's worth, I don't think it's subs have anybody that can guard Porzingis. Oh, we're coming up on the break already. Wow.
Thanks for listening to the Right Time Podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Guys, wouldn't your wife or girlfriend love it if you treated her to the very best this Christmas? Now you can, with the world's softest pajamas by Pajamagram. Created by a team of pajama experts, the world's softest PJs are lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny, like cashmere, only better. She'll love how heavenly they feel. Includes free gift packaging and Christmas delivery is guaranteed. So visit pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs.
Welcome to the Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. All right, so you got Lakers-Cavs tonight, right? Thursday night game. With the Lonzo Ball situation, you get a few more opportunities to watch the Lakers. They generally get them. The late night games or whatever. They decided to go ahead and make this a Thursday night game. And I feel like everybody involved when they decided to make a Thursday night game was like, ooh, I know y'all heard LeBron might be going to L.A. We could talk about that all day long. And let me tell you something about the idea of talking about LeBron going to L.A. I was up this morning, getting toward the afternoon, and I started looking around for things that we could talk about on the radio show. That's pretty much what I spend. After we leave this show, is pretty much starting all over to get ready for the next show. And then I looked on the website, and I don't remember where exactly it was I saw it, or maybe it had been an email that I received. Shannon, some story about how LeBron would fit in with the Lakers, and that's how I knew we was going to be scraping the bowl today. I feel like they scheduled this whole thing on this game just in case there ain't nothing to talk about on Thursday. There ain't no college football. I'm going to throw this in there. So, maybe if we need to, we just talk about LeBron going to L.A. Not a coincidence, but I'll try to tell you, NBA in their scheduling, man, they are looking at these things, and they're taking over Thursday. Yeah, is this really the takeover, though? Because I feel like now they're just like, look, man, y'all ain't really got nothing to talk about. Y'all can talk about LeBron going to L.A. And I feel like we should have learned our lesson from way back that we don't ever know what LeBron is going to do. LeBron just going to do it, and then we going to find out after the fact. One of my homeboys was talking about LeBron. He said he can't imagine what it's like to be married to LeBron. LeBron ain't going to tell you nothing. His wife ain't telling her nothing. Then you finally get him dead to rights, and all he do is get up and go to the other room. That's LeBron. He's not going to tell us anything that it's about to be. No way. But we do have this game tonight, and fine, I'll do it. Shannon, do you think LeBron is going to go to the Lakers? You just spent the opening montage of the segment explaining why we don't know what LeBron's going to do, so I have no idea. Look, this is what we got. I need a hot take. I can't be the only person providing these hot takes. Somebody else get your take on. You think LeBron, you see him going to the Lakers? I can see LeBron James playing in the NBA next year. That's all I got. That's all. Come on, man. We need hot takes. Everyone is offering unqualified hot takes when it comes to what it is that LeBron James is going to do. Is LeBron going to go to L.A.? Damn, here's what I don't get. We thought this would power this. We're 4 minutes in, and I'm out of gas already on the idea of LeBron going to L.A. I did see the thing, though, where LeBron got a new L.A. mansion, right? And so he got him a new mansion in L.A., and I think that people are looking at that like, oh, man, because they're going to move to L.A., except for the fact Shannon wasn't the old L.A. mansion, the one that allegedly was scrawled upon by racists. Yeah, the one in Brentwood, yes. I can see why maybe he might want to move to a new one. I'd also be curious, what the residents of Brentwood thought about LeBron moving in. Imagine if he had moved on this. Okay. No need to tell that joke. I feel like y'all might take it too far. And here's what I don't get. And of course, I don't have LeBron money, but I don't understand having the mansions out there in L.A. if
Isn't Akron home? Like, isn't that the home? You got the castle and everything built?
Yeah, especially since you got a wintertime job, so it's not like you can go out there and just, like, post up in California for the time being. Can you imagine that, though, having the bread to pay $23 million for a house that you don't live in?
Say that one more time. Let that sink in. Say that one more time.
$23 million for a house that you don't live in. You don't even rent it out. You don't even have it on Airbnb. It's just sitting there. Can you imagine having that kind of bread? Can you imagine that? Think about that. Think about that.
Well, then that leaves my question, though. So when the Cavs are out there on the West Coast trip and you playing the Clippers and the Lakers, does LeBron stay at his crib? Like, does the whole team just stay at LeBron's crib?
Yeah, are there enough rooms in the crib where they can just check in there and, like, hire a maid service and just treat it like it's a hotel? I'm still thinking about that bread, though. The bread just to have just a $23 million house laying around. So, like, when I lived in Miami, all right, I kick it fairly regular, and I'm paranoid, right? So, like, when I got to Miami, I was like, this ain't no guarantee. But I told myself, I'm going to get myself a dope spot. Like, that was the thing that I was going to do. And I have to tell you, the spot that I had in Miami, that was the one where I took the wonderful beachfront photographs for you while you were freezing your keister off wherever it was that you were. It was a nice spot. It was a really dope spot. Like, Shannon, you were there. You have to say, like, that was a nice spot.
Correct. Palatial, yes.
But you know what the difference was between me and everybody else who lived in that building? That was my one spot. I was there 12 months out the year. That was my one spot. Shannon, them jokers, this was one of their spots. My next door neighbors were gone for 6 months out of the year, and their crib was flyer than mine. This was one of their spots. I mean, I guess I got another spot in Durham that I rent out for like $1,000 a month. Like, we're not talking about a real estate portfolio here. LeBron's just like, yo, that one house we don't live in, let's get us another house that we don't live in.
Well, in regards to LeBron and his pending free agency, I'd imagine it's either L.A. or bust, right? L.A. or bust. Like, I've seen reports that maybe Houston can creep into this, but it's for LeBron, doesn't it seem like it's going to be either one of the L.A. teams or Cleveland?
I could see Houston as maybe a possibility. Like, if we're talking strictly basketball here, right? Like, just the ability to win. Because, I mean, how many years does LeBron have left? Like, we talk about him going to the Lakers. Do you think they could instantly put a team around LeBron that could compete for a championship within, like, a year or two? Because I just don't feel like we can assume this LeBron thing is going to go on forever. I think it's easy to get into that trap, but at some point, the gas is going to run low on a situation like that. So if you drop, tell me this, you drop him on Houston right now, how many games do you think that team could win in a year? But could he and Chris Paul play together? As much as they say they want to play together, could they play together?
The one thing I am kind of rooted for, though, if the LeBron-Laker thing, though, is the LeBron and LeVar Ball dynamic. Like, I would love to see that.
Well, let's think about this for a second. If LeBron got to the Lakers and told Magic trade Lonzo, you think Magic trade Lonzo? Because I would trade Lonzo. Would you trade Lonzo?
I guess, I mean, LeBron's at this point now, though, like, essentially, if he goes to front office and whatever he asks them to do, they're going to have to comply, no?
You would think. Although Pat Riley wouldn't. Like, that's the thing. But that's why LeBron don't play there no more. Right? Because of those sorts of situations. I'm thinking, though, imagine LeBron coming to Houston. Because, look, only one person could be in charge. And it sounds like Chris Paul and James Harden have a personality match that allows for Chris Paul to be the one who's in charge. How long would it be if LeBron went to the Rockets before Chris Paul got up to him and was like, just because I ain't as tall as you don't mean nothing. Yeah, ask DeAndre. I'm going to get on this chair, put my finger in your face and tell you what I mean. Could you see that? Could you imagine that? I can see that. Also, though, imagine LeBron and Chris Paul on the same team. Think about this. LeBron, Chris Paul, and James Harden on the same team. All three guys can score. All three guys are playmakers. Two of the three can be very good on defense. The other one has a beard. But imagine those cats on the same squad. That's the team that could beat the Warriors. So if you're LeBron, think about this. If you're LeBron and you get to the finals again with Cleveland and y'all lose to the Warriors, you got to go just find whatever the Warrior beater team is that you can find. Now, I know that LeBron has visions. We talked to Pablo about this. Pablo wrote a feature about this. LeBron has visions of Hollywood. Like, of being an action star. And so the idea has been they'd move to L.A. and then you can start getting in line for all those things. But I feel like you can do that kind of stuff in the summer. Like, you don't need to live there all of the time. But is he going to stay in Cleveland? I guess he might stay in Cleveland. I will say this, though. There were never any real whispers of him leaving Cleveland when he signed those one-year contracts. this year has been nothing but whispers that he might leave Cleveland. And we've been talking about this now. I think the first time somebody told me about LeBron leaving Cleveland to go to L.A. that seemed to have some reputable source into it was September of last year. But that person told me it was going to be the Clippers rather than the Lakers. All that's to say, man, we just guessing. I ain't got no idea what LeBron's going to do. But thank you so much, anybody who broached that topic, because we needed to eat up those 10 minutes, and I eat minutes. I'm like Pac-Man. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Give us a call. We'll take your stories about why you quit playing football, by the way. And coming up next, how excited should the Packers be about Aaron Rodgers coming back? You're listening to ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Adam Schefter of ESPN will join us next segment. Adam Schefter will join us at 5:30 Eastern. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Let's hit the phones right fast off to DJ Mike Hitman. Mike, what's going on?
Hey, Bo, let me say this right quick. You remember this saying, Houston, we have a problem. We don't know is Chris Paul going to break something on his body. He already broke something. Something's coming up to be broken. He'll be out.
Dang,
and when the
right?
playoffs start, hold on, and the playoffs start, we can't trust the fearless man because he's going to want to party. It's too much free time off, so it's going to be a party. So, Houston, you have a problem again. Just enjoy the regular season, and that's all you can enjoy. And now, let's get to New York. The only reason you win in New York, I want to let you really know why you're winning. You're playing so many home games at home. You know why? You better think really bring a brother circus because they retired because you will be on the West Coast. But wait till next year comes. 2018 is just around the corner. You got 2 weeks on the road. Then we'll look at your standards. Only thing I love in New York is the Statue of Liberty. Have a good one, Bo.
All right, Mike. I live in New York now. I thought you loved me, but it's whatever. And Shannon, I didn't realize this until I looked it up. The Knicks have played 18 home games versus 9 road games. Look at Mike hitting that schedule like Woody Page.
Right, hitting all the facts. And I don't understand why Mike's coming at us. His team at the Celtics are at 24-6. Enjoy being in first place. Enjoy that you'll probably finish with the best record in the East, then eventually lose to the Cavaliers in the playoffs again. Enjoy that.
Word.
I'm just saying.
That's what it is.
Stating facts. It did happen.
Yeah, there's that. But had you noticed that they had played all them home games?
It was mentioned during the Laker game how well the Knicks have played at home this season. I didn't realize it was 13. Well, they played 18 home games. I didn't realize it was so many. But
how did that happen? I guess I guess he said it's the circus. We gonna blame it on the circus.
It's about time the Knicks aren't the ones that are the circus.
Oh wow, you kind of hate it on yourself. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. So Aaron Rodgers back with the Packers. But hold up. Don't get it twisted. Aaron Rodgers wants to make sure you know he ain't wearing no cape.
I'm just going to bring the energy and enthusiasm that I always do to practice. Obviously, I think there's an expectation of the way I play on Sunday and how I'm going to play. I enjoy those expectations. I enjoy meeting those or exceeding those. That's what it means to be a leader in this locker room and the quarterback of this team is going out and performing and doing your job. Hopefully it gives a lift to some of the guys. But I'm not coming back to save this team. I'm coming back to play quarterback the way I know how to play it, and hopefully we all raise the level of our play collectively and find a way to win these 3 games.
I feel like Mike McCarthy heard that and it's like, no, I mean, you may not be here to save us. That might not be what you came to do, but that's why you here. Like, that's why we brought you here. You know, like, Chad, I feel like it's like me doing this radio show where I could be like, yeah, I'm here to do this because I really enjoy it and everything else. And they're like, yeah, you here to sell these ads too. Don't get it twisted. It's cool if you enjoy it while you're here. So Aaron Rodgers is like, yeah, I'm just here to do my best. Yeah, you can do your best, but what we asking you to do is save us. Just to be clear, like that's what we need in this. What are they, 7-6?
Now they're 7-6. They need to win out, and they're going to need some help as well.
Well, I got to say that I'm pretty impressed by the fact that they went 7-6 because like, I'm not here for the Brett Hundley thing at all. I have not been here for the Brett Hundley thing. I was not here for him when he was at UCLA. Like, this has never been a thing for me. they somehow managed to win those games with him. And, I mean, I feel like they got a couple of halfway decent games out of him maybe. Like, I got to go to the game log because every time I saw it, it looked like he was throwing the ball underhand. Right? Like whenever I saw him play, he's like, I want to throw the ball, but you're not allowed to throw it past that dude right there. What dude you talking about, Brett? The one right there that's holding that thing that's coming out the ground. It's at the end of the chain. I'm not allowed to throw it past him. But, right, I mean, like that's against the rules, right? Because he throws like it's against the rules for him to throw the ball ahead of the sticks. But now Aaron Rodgers comes back. Yeah, Shannon, 8 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 78 quarterback rating for Brett Hundley. Think about that. He completed 64% of his passes this year and had 6 yards an attempt.
While all of that is true, they're still in the race, though.
They are.
You think about, as bad as mediocre as he's played, they're still in the race.
Well, somebody I don't think highly of, I have to give some measure of credit to in the grand scheme of this, right? It's either him or McCarthy. Because I'm not that wild about McCarthy, but, I mean, they came out of this whole thing much better than I ever thought they would have been able to without Aaron Rodgers. How many teams we've seen just flat out fall apart without a player the caliber of Aaron Rodgers? That didn't happen here. Good for them, right? I guess there's something to be said for that. Also, Aaron Rodgers wants to make sure you understand he's cool. He's going to be all right. There's no risk.
Yeah, I wouldn't be standing here ready to play if I wasn't confident I could go out there and play the way that I've always played. There's just no point in doing that. It's a risky game. It's a dangerous game. There's risks every time you step on the field. With the concussions that have happened in this game, that to me is something to be more worried about than altering your play to take a shot and land it on your shoulder again. So that's something that we deal with, and that's why we love this game. I think Mike Mitchell had a lot of good points when he was talking about the nature of this game. It's a physical game, and you have to go out and play as much as you can without fear. And that's why I'm here. That's why we're cleared, and that's why I'm playing.
Hey, I want to get right back to Brett Hundley right fast. Shannon, you want to know like just how weird this can be where you talk about like quarterback wins and stuff like that? I think the best game that Hundley played, 17 for 26 for 245 yards and 3 touchdowns in that game against the Steelers. The following week, he was 13 for 22 for 84 yards. They won the game where he threw for 84 yards. They lost the game where he threw for 245. In fact, just about every game it looked like where he played like halfway decently, other than the Bears. They got a win over the Bears where he played pretty well. But otherwise, they were just like, look, man, somebody got to snap. Somebody got to catch the ball. I feel like teams just need to go get wishbone quarterbacks in situations like these, don't you? Why not? Why not get somebody out there to run the bone? I don't know how hard it is to get your linemen instead of reacquainted with running the bone, but I feel like maybe you just go get some dudes off the street, some high schoolers, be like, yo, man, we're going to run the bone. Because I tell you this, I've seen pitches in the wishbone that went farther than the passes that Hundley was throwing. 888-729-3776, that's our telephone number. You guys tell us these stories about when you quit playing football. Let's hit the phone, talk to Kyle in Brooklyn. Kyle, thanks for calling the right time.
Bo, what's going on, man?
What's happening, man?
Huge fan.
Thank you.
Hey, I might have had the shortest football career ever, man. So, football coach when I was in high school. I'm 6'6". At that time, I was about 260. I played basketball, though. I played for a school in Brooklyn named Lincoln. You might have heard of us. He got game. I actually played with Lance Stevenson. He was just talking about him.
Hey, Marv Albert went to Lincoln, too. That's my favorite thing to point out.
Marv Albert went to Lincoln. Lance Stevenson, Sebastian Telfair. You know the list.
Yes.
Stephon Marbury, of course. So the football coach wants me to come out and play. He's like, yo, you're athletic. I come to all the games. I see you. I want you to play for my team. I have been thinking about it, So senior year, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this. My high school coach, Tiny, he hates when his starters, especially his starters, go to play football. It never worked out good for him, ever. One of my boys ended up with a screw in his ankle. It never works out good. So I'm walking in school. The first day I decide I'm going to play football. I go to practice, and then I see all of my basketball teammates got on the brand new KGs. They didn't even drop yet. We was an Adidas school. KGs didn't even drop yet. So I go to coach. Hey, coach, where's my KGs at? He says, man, I don't know if you're going to be available come the beginning of the season, so I got to save that gear for somebody who might need it. Yep, last day of football, baby.
You on time right then?
Last day of football. Man, I wear 18, Bo.
Damn.
I wear 18. I need that free gear, man. We was the flyest Adidas dudes in New York City, we had everything. We ain't wearing no regular clothes. We just wore Adidas. When he said I couldn't get no gear because I was playing football, yeah, baby, like, I'm up out of here.
Hey, dude, Kyle, I appreciate you calling. And Shannon, I totally get it. If you wear a size 18, ain't nothing fly for you in the store.
You got to get what you can get, and if they get them free, that's what you got to get.
Duh, I wear a 13, and once while I was in high school, I thought I had moved up in the shoe to 14, and I remember, I forget which fly kick it was. I look at the dude at Foot Locker. I'm like, yo, you got that at a 14? My dude laughed in my face and walked away. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, Aaron Rodgers is coming back, but is that too late for the Packers? We'll ask Adam Schefter on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. Hey, if you travel for work, listen up. Book your next business trip at Upside.com, and I'll give you two of the best gifts anyone will give you this holiday season. A free pair of Bose SoundLink wireless headphones so you can have some peace and quiet on your business trip, and the gift of a better business travel experience. Only Upside monitors your business trip around the clock, proactively keeping you posted on everything from the weather in the city you're going to changing your flight home so you can adjust your meeting schedule. Have you ever experienced that level of service before on a business trip? Nope. All that plus Upside is great prices for flights, hotel, and rental cars. Now, to get your free pair of Bose SoundLink wireless headphones, use my code Bomani when you book your first business trip at Upside.com. That's code Bomani at Upside.com to claim my free gift to you. Bose SoundLink wireless headphones. Upside.com. You deserve a better business trip. Headphones available while supplies last. Must be first Upside purchase. $600 minimum purchase required. See site for complete details.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Adam Schefter will join us now at 6:15 Eastern rather than at this moment. Brian Windhurst of ESPN will also join us in the 6 o'clock Eastern hour. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Comparing rates to help you save. That's Progressive. Call or click today and find out how much Progressive could save you. You guys been calling in with your stories about what made you quit football. 888-729-3776. Let's talk to Rich from New York. Rich, thanks for calling The Right Time.
Oh, man, finally get to talk to you, Bo. Thank you.
All good, man.
So I grew up in Utah, and I was a starting DB on the high school team. The defensive coach liked me. The DB coach did not, so he'd always try to undermine me and put his own guy in because, politics.
Yes.
So we ran this drill where we have to practice calling out crack blocks so dudes don't get lit up like Montez Burfict. And they threw a little fake in there for me where the receiver pretended to go to the linebacker, then started blocking me. I shoved him aside. Guy on the other side hit me square up right in the chin. And I was in a dream from then on where I was back on the bus driving down to football practice, which made me mad because I'm like, I already did this. I don't want to go back to practice. I don't want to practice 4 times a day. I'm sitting on my helmet on the sideline watching some other team practice, and I'm so out of it that I think that my team left me. So, because all I'm seeing is guys in purple, and we're maroon. So I'm freaking out. Our quarterback's name was Ross. So I'm like, oh, where's Ross at? Where's Ross at? They left me. And then I hear a dude next to me say, yo, man, your team over there. So I turn around. Our team is still practicing. I was like, oh, all right, cool. So then defensive coach sees me, walks over to me and says, we're going to put you on the second string. And I was like, wait, but I still had no idea what had happened. I'm like, you're going to do me like this. Now, I'm upset about this, but a gentleman by the name of Haloti Ngata was also at this.
Oh.
His team was also at this camp we were at. And I remember my team played him later that day, and I just watched him hand out L's and work to folks. And I'm just like, nah, man, I'm good. I don't want no part of that. I made a business decision, and I stuck to basketball.
Yep, I got to say, Rich, that was a smart play. I appreciate the call. Can you imagine dealing with high school Haloti Ngata? You got anything on that?
Oh, no, I'm right there with him. No, I'm good.
Dude,
that I'm good means everything in the world. It explains everything. Nah, I'm good.
Yeah, no, thank you. Everything's cool. I'm straight. I'll just go over here on this treadmill. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. So Andy Benoit of MMQB.com wrote this story that a lot of people really jumped on because it was operating with this idea. He believes that Matthew Stafford is a better quarterback than Russell Wilson. Now, I have to say this, though, about Stafford. I have been hard on Stafford throughout his career. You know why I've been hard on Stafford throughout his career? Because normally we're hard on number one overall picks. For whatever reason, Matthew Stafford has skated through all of this. This is the 9th year for Matthew Stafford in Detroit. The Lions have not won a playoff game since he has been there. I have seen the blame thrown to everybody else. Never does the blame go to Stafford. Now, that being said, Stafford has had very little running support around him, and they are, in fact, the Detroit Lions. Yes, he had a long time of playing with Calvin Johnson, but I'm not saying the fact they haven't won is his fault. I am saying, though, he is now as good as I feel like people were saying he was 3 or 4 years ago. I don't think he was as good then as he is now, but I do think he's a pretty good quarterback, and he can do the thing that I think is as important as anything else for a quarterback. He can make dynamic throws, right? Like, that's a big part of it. You can make dynamic throws. You can have the guys out here who simply minimize mistakes, but if they can't make dynamic throws on top of that, then simply minimizing mistakes only goes but so far. But I don't think he's Russell Wilson, right? Like, I do not think that. Now, Benoit's story made this point where he said, if I were an offensive coach and I had to design an offense around a player and you gave me the choice of doing it between Russell Wilson and Matthew Stafford, I would take Matthew Stafford. But if I were a defensive coordinator and I had to decide which guy was more difficult to stop, I would rather play against Matthew Stafford than play against Russell Wilson. That's like, huh? And his argument is that if you are an offensive coordinator, then you can't do the timing and the rhythm stuff and everything else with Russell Wilson because his play is too, and I quote, random. Right? That he's just going to be out there running around. You got no idea what's coming next. So how do you call plays? How do you design an offense around that? But again, then on the other side, he's saying that is difficult to defend. Now, I read something. I think it was Doug Farrar of Bleacher Report who had something up that was talking about how the Seahawks have a plan. When Russell Wilson gets out of the pocket, there is a plan for what all those guys are doing. So it's not totally random. But stop and take a moment to think about the logic that's at play here and how weird football coaching is, right? The logic that's at play is if I'm an offensive coordinator, I would rather have a player who is not as talented, because if I have the player who is not as talented, I don't know what he's going to do, and nothing is more important than me and my precious system. That feels to me like the point that is ultimately being made. Now, Benoit, I thought, made the fair point about Russell Wilson being 5'11", and you do have to do things to design your offense around the fact that a guy is 5'11". Look, if he's 5'11", the offensive linemen are 6'5", and the defenders have their arms up, that's a reference that he made in the article, then yeah, you would rather have all things equal the tall guy. That makes sense. There's a reason why there has never been a quarterback as short as Russell Wilson who has been as successful as Russell Wilson. But he's so incredibly talented that only matters but so much. I saw it in college. I saw it here. It only matters but so much with him because of all the things that he's able to do. But the thing about the NFL and the scouts and all the stuff they say and everything else, stop and do the math on that for just 1 second. I would be more wedded to my system than I would be to a better player. Now, Benoit writes, and he says that there are ups and downs in the Seahawks offense, and he says that those ups and downs are caused by Russell Wilson. Now, I think many of us would make the argument the ups and downs are caused by the fact that, well, the ups are certainly caused by Russell Wilson. With that terrible running game that they've got and their poor offensive line, it's hard to say that the downs are entirely Russell Wilson's fault. And that's not because Russell Wilson isn't a flawed player, because he is. He runs out of too many pockets that he doesn't need to, all that kind of stuff. But listen to this. As much as we talk about the running games that Matthew Stafford has not had, Seahawks running backs since the start of last season, they're tied for 31st in rushing yards, which would mean that they're in last because that would be 31 and 32. They are 30th in yards per rush. They are, a 46% third down conversion rate. That's 25th. 12 rushing touchdowns. That's 29th. Like, there is no run game there. It's the same thing you say about Stafford. There is no run game there for Russell Wilson. They keep trying to figure this offensive line thing out. They have not figured it out. If you put Matt Stafford behind that offensive line, we just be out here talking about how tough Matthew Stafford is because he'd be getting the hell knocked out of him. But this is the way the NFL goes, and this is something that gets a lot of them in trouble. And I feel like in college, they're much more flexible about this, and it's an important thing to note. Too many cats are more wedded to their systems and their own ideas of their own brilliance than they are to the actual players. One last thing, too. Benoit in that piece talking about Russell Wilson said Darrell Bevell, he has a tough job because you never know what your quarterback is going to do. Darrell Bevell used to coach Brett Favre. I don't remember anybody talking about how hard Brett Favre made Darrell Bevell's job. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, find out how Rick Pitino was being a hater. Calm down. It doesn't involve anything like that. You're listening to ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Brian Windhurst of ESPN will join us next segment. Brian Windhurst will join us at 6 o'clock Eastern. Talk about Cavs and Lakers. Subscribe right now to 30 for 30 Podcast in the Listen tab of the ESPN app or Apple Podcast. Brought to you by Delta, making your travel experience informed, connected, and seamless. Keep climbing. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Let's take a phone call right fast with Elmer in Virginia. Elmer, thanks for calling The Right Time.
Yes, I'm
sorry.
You, sir? Hey, I'm just a big fan of yours. I was born and raised in Durham, North Carolina. I went to school at NC State, so I love your North Carolina stories.
Thank you, man.
And I was just wondering, do you think Westbrook is going to turn into Allen Iverson, where everybody loved his passion at first, and then nobody wanted to play with him because he was a ball hog, and he didn't change his ways and work with people? I mean, Jordan could have been the same way, whereas he was all about stats and scoring, but until he changed his ways and learned to play with people, that's when he started winning. Like Kobe could have been in the same boat too.
Well, that's an interesting question, and I appreciate the call. Here's one thing, though. Can somebody show me that year that the reason that the Thunder didn't win a championship was because Russell Westbrook didn't pass people the ball? Right? Like, I don't feel like you really have that example. They have been so much more, now granted, Kevin Durant was there, but they've been so much more successful in Oklahoma City with Russell Westbrook than I think I just don't think it makes it fair to do this. Because think about this. This is a big difference between Russell Westbrook and Allen Iverson. They kept having to trade them other dudes out of there with Allen Iverson. Shannon, what was the list? Larry Hughes, Jerry Stackhouse, then Larry Hughes.
As far as his complementary piece?
Yeah, that they ultimately had to send somewhere else.
Keith Van Horn at one point.
Oh, that's right.
Derek Coleman was the second guy.
Yeah, they kept
Chris Webber was the second guy at one point.
Now, granted, he was done by the time he got there, but they kept trying to get second guys, and none of them would work. Russ worked very well with Kevin Durant for a very long time. So I think it's very easy for us to just talk about this because Russ, last night he had a triple-double, but he was 3 for 17 from the floor or something like that. The problem right now with Russell Westbrook is not that he doesn't play with others, it's that he's not making shots. Like we talked about this the other day. What has happened to his shooting percentage this year is something that almost makes you wonder if he's hurt. Let me pull these up right fast just so you understand that, yeah, I get where people's coming from because it's really easy to just get in line with that idea that, okay, the problem is Russ just takes too many shots. Russ is taking 4 fewer shots a game this year than he was last year. This year, Russell Westbrook is only averaging 22.6 points per game. The problem is last year he shot 42.5% from the field. This year he's shooting 38.9% from the field. Last year was 45.9% from 2. This year, 41.9% from 2. Last year, 34.3% from 3, which was his best 3-point percentage ever. This year, 31.2% from 3. If he makes more of these shots, we're not having the discussions that we're having right now. Melo, I think, has been just as big a problem. And this, by the way, tells you what a shield Russell Westbrook can be for other players. Because, Shannon, we've spent our whole lives, basically, as basketball fans, talking about how it was that you couldn't win with Melo. You can't win with Melo. You can't win with Melo. Melo down there not playing well, and now we're going to blame that on Russell Westbrook, too.
Think about it. We've talked about Westbrook's struggles. We talked about Paul George's struggles. Melo hasn't shot the ball well, and we're not even talking about that. We haven't brought up ISO Melo one time this season.
Melo is shooting 40% from the field. His career average from the field is 45. He's 43 last year from the field. Again, Billy Donovan, where are you? Right, because even if this is a matter of Russell Westbrook got to change or whatever it is, and that means the coach got to be the one to make this thing change. Now, of course, there's another problem that comes up in this, which is Russell Westbrook is the guy with the longest contract in the house, and that means that he is the guy that has all the juice. He is the guy who has all the clout. But I still feel like this is one where they can figure this out. But I think Melo making shots is as important as anything else.
I've noticed that they have Melo playing a lot with the second string. Do you think there's ever a point where Donovan goes to Melo and say, hey, we might want to start bringing you off the bench?
I feel like the general manager got to be the one to do that.
The owner, maybe?
Yeah, but here's another wild one, Shannon. talking about these falling shooting percentages. Last year, Carmelo shot 83% from the free throw line. This year, he's shooting 76 from the free throw line. That's the other one that's staggering and bizarre with Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook has always been a good free throw shooter. Last year, he shot a career high 84.5% from the free throw line. This year, it's 71.7. Right. So, like, I feel like there's something else that's going on here because I don't think any of this not passing the ball or not sharing anything else, that does not explain why Russell Westbrook would be making fewer free throws than he had before. The other one, let's see how many he's attempting. Shannon, last year he attempted 10 free throws a game. This year he's only attempting 7. Like, I understand totally and completely why it is that so many people wind up getting to the argument, well, the problem is don't nobody want to play with Russ. Russ don't want to pass the ball to nobody. I just don't think that's really what it is. It's not like he's putting up the same usage rate this year that he was putting up last year. He's putting up a usage rate that's in line with what he did when Kevin Durant was there. Why aren't these other cats making shots? No one asked that. Why is he not making free throws? No one asked that. That's what I'm more curious about. But 888-729-3776, that's our telephone number. Coming up next, how seriously are the Cavs taking LeBron to L.A. rumors? We'll talk to Brian Windhorst on ESPN Radio.
Thanks for listening to the Right Time Podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.